Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we are back again with another Alliance War video. It technically hasn't finished yet, but I'm done with all my fights and well, the result is pretty much all but decided. So we're gonna go ahead and upload this video now. So what you need to know about this war, it's ASR against KENOB. What you need to know about both of these alliances is that Season 22 ASR finished first place and KENOB finished in second. Last season, Season 23, KENOB finished in first place and ASR finished in second. And ultimately, KENOB has had more Alliance War Season wins than any other given alliance. I'm quite sure they have won about 15 of them in total. So they are by far the strongest alliance currently when it comes to Alliance War. And ASR is closest to them, I would like to say. I don't think that's coming off too arrogant, but ASR is also a very strong Alliance War alliance that more often than not ranks in top 3. And yeah, so this was going to be one of those wars that decide the season. Winning this war, whoever gets it, basically puts you in a front row seat on a train to the first place. Losing this war immediately forces either of the alliances to play catch up. So it's very stressful war. We can see that both alliances already, this is before my first fight, have started the war very well. Nobody has died, and it's a crazy tense war. Again, on path 1 in section 1 and 2, I have some mini action. I actually get a mini bus stolen to me by End. I'll explain that a bit later. But let's jump into the fights. So, on path 1 here, first fight, I'm going to be going up against Symbiote Supreme and then Mr. Sinister. So this is one of those wars that's extremely vital, extremely important, and there is no way that I would like to get KO'd. So I'm not taking any chances. I'm going to be boosting up quite a bit for a lot of these fights. Don't care, just don't want to die. That ultimately, I believe, is the duty if you are an alliance that is trying to push hard in Alliance War. And each individual player's duty is to do whatever they can to make sure they do not give away that KO, no matter how confident they are in that fight. And that also includes boosting as heavily as you possibly can, pretty much. Right. So this first fight, I could have brought in Human Torch without much issues, but I figured I'm gonna bring in Doom instead. And the reason for it, obviously, is the power control capability and the fact that Arc Overload, well, I can negate that, I can stagger it, I can nullify it. And the best thing about Dr. Doom in this matchup, obviously, is that I can also power control, so I'm not at real risk of eating up level 3. Now, I am like 199% confident that Human Torch would have done fantastic in this fight again, but all of this always goes back to which champion has the best chance kind of like not to die, right? With which champion you are least likely to mess up and die. And even though I'm 100% certain that Human Torch would have done this fight quicker, I'm also 100% certain that it would take less mistakes with me using Human Torch to get KO'd than it would with Dr. Doom because of how tanky he is and all of the other reasons that I mentioned before. So I went in with Dr. Doom. Now against this Mr. Sinister, I will be using Human Torch, however, just to be extra safe, I will use that Indestructible 3 boost as well. Again, I am confident I can do this fight without it. I really am. But I want to take no chances at all whatsoever. So this is Masochism and Indomitable Will, or whichever it's called. Basically, I can't reverse his healing, and obviously Masochism will heal him up quite a bit, and then you have Mr. Sinister in itself. A quick side note, we're up against Bulwark Global in this war, because KENOB does like to do that. They like to kind of like throw these odd defensive tactics and tight matchups, trying to catch up people off guard. I'm 100% sure that for the most part they're probably running Protect, as most other alliances are, but occasionally for these really hard close wars they like to manage their defensive tactics differently, and this time we are going up against Bulwark. But Mr. Sinister, even though he looks like he should be, he is not metal. So it's important to know that. He's a large champion, he's affected by Protect, but he's not metal. And then obviously Human Torch is a fantastic Mr. Sinister matchup, primarily because whenever he drops level 1, I gain a bunch of smolders if I had any incinerates on him, and that just lets me deal more and more damage as the fight goes on. And now next up I'm taking this joint fight, which is Corvus. Now Corvus is a metal champion, so he technically does qualify for Bulwark node, but Dr. Doom is also a metal, and whenever I inflict damage or time debuff, you do remove that indestructible, and not to mention the fact that Dr. Doom can simply nullify those as well. And yeah, basically Dr. Doom can dance around Bulwark in like 7 different ways. You can either nullify the indestructibles, you can just wait it out, or you can stagger them, or you can apply shock or incinerate and make sure they are removed that way. So Dr. Doom's quite perfect for these Bulwark things. We can see that he had Bulwark active there and I dropped to level 2, but it immediately expires after a special attack as well, and that's the main thing, that incinerate damage is the main thing in this matchup. Now here well, you can see that I'm a bit stressed, so I don't know what happened there, but I got smacked. But at this point, Chorus is nearly dead. I'm just going for a heavy attack and the fight is over. Now I do have another fight here that I'm taking up immediately. I actually didn't even check if my Indestructible 3 boost is or is not still active. But this is the Man-Thing on Power Snack and Backup Recovery. And Man-Thing is a chunky boy. Now luckily though, Quake does have class advantage here. I still have those big boosts active. And even though I'm using a 5-star against rank 3 6-star, the fight actually doesn't last that long. You can see that this was a small mistake that I made in the beginning. I actually dropped my heavy when I didn't mean to. But other than that, I'm quite fine. And for this this point already, I kind of decided that I'm just going to do parry heavy. The reason for it is I don't want to trigger that precision at all on me. Sometimes I do play like full deck style on these nodes, and sometimes I don't. This time, again, just to keep it extremely safe, I don't want to gain a single buff throughout this entire fight. So Man-Thing doesn't have a chance to nullify it, so Power Snack doesn't have a chance to eat it up and give Man-Thing any more power. So that is pretty much that. I'm just going to parry and heavy. Parry and heavy. You can see the first minute I already did push him below the 50%. However, backup recovery kicks in. And if you didn't know, basically if you're reducing his ability accuracy and if you kind of prevent that huge power influx, then instead of gaining a bunch of power due to backup recovery, opponents gain a bunch of health. But that really isn't too big of an issue because it just means that the fight is going to be slightly longer. It doesn't fundamentally change any mechanics or doesn't force you to play any differently around it. It just prolongs the fight slightly, which is not a big problem. So here, 1 minute 40 seconds in the fight, he's back down to 42%, and obviously we have already had to deal with that backup recovery. So it's pretty straightforward from here on out. Just carry on quaking, parrying, blocking in the corner. Don't gain any buffs, don't give him any more power. I don't want to actually do any hits on the guy either. I just want to stay consistent, stay in my corner, and make sure this guy goes down. This is also the last fight that I had before I went to sleep. So this is the very, very last fight at this point in war for me before we jump to section 2. And neither of the alliances had died at this point. We were like 50 plus kills in exploration, but neither of us had died. And this is what I wake up to. I woke up to us having 108 kills and 1 defensive KO. And ASR at this point, unfortunately, were in quite significant lead. 3 death deficit in wars like this is death sentence. So at this point, as soon as I woke up, well, first of all, let's start with my morning was ruined and disappointment was immeasurable. But all things being said, obviously, I'm still very proud to be a member of ASR. It's just very annoying and frustrating when things like this happen. When you go to bed, everything's fine. You're in very, very close war. You wake up and you just see that you have all but lost it. And yeah, it definitely sucks. And at this point, when I woke up, I already had, well, it was clear who is going to win this war. But there was the AQ clear, and here we have the rest of the fights that I do have here. I did these fights just before my kind of like midday stream. So fighting when you already know that you have lost the war, it's also different. Not all of it's good, not all of it's bad. For instance, I was nowhere near as stressed as I was before. Because I knew it doesn't really matter. If I do mess up, if I do die, I am not ultimately going to be the person who ruins it for other people. So it immediately takes a lot of pressure away. On the other hand, knowing that ASR is an alliance that ultimately is pushing for top 3 and every single death can and will be important at the end, you really, really still don't want to die. And for me personally, I do want to go another season deathless. I managed to go deathless last season. Season before that, I only had one very, very silly death. And I want to go another season without dying at all. And yeah, so I still put on the big boy boosts. Still don't want to be the guy who messes up. Even though at this point I can't let my alliance down, I can still let myself down. But either way, so Omega Red here on this EMP modification node, and it's fairly straightforward with Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom is obviously, again, immune to shock, so I don't worry about EMP modification at all. And I take this fight very kind of like safe, very passive. Just drop a bunch of my level 1s, so I don't have to worry about baiting out his special attacks for most part. Now here I made it level 2, why not, kind of thing. But you just basically need to slow play this fight, make sure you maintain your distance, don't let the spores build up too much, and we can see it was very, very straightforward fight. Nothing dramatic happened. It's yeah, standard placement there. Dr. Doom handled it perfectly. And now we're gonna carry on to last fights actually of my war. I was scheduled to take one mini boss on the right side. I think it was like Glacier Hulk, which I was meant to Quake or something of the sort. But I started my stream after these fights, and when I finished my stream, somebody had quote-unquote stolen my mini-boss. I guess that's a karmic revenge, because I sometimes make a habit of taking other people's fights, but, you know, it is what it is. It saved me boosting up again, so fair enough. I'm not even upset about this one. And here we have this Spider-Gwen on Vigor, and we're just using Quake, and that's, again, a very straightforward fight. Sit in a corner, await everything and anything she might throw at me. And yeah, unfortunately here I didn't time my heavy attack quite right, so she did get that full vigor heal. But we're still making good progress. Less than a minute in the fight. She's at 57%. And yeah, slowly but surely she's going down. Quake does what Quake is supposed to do, not too much to worry about. And I do feel extremely comfortable and confident using Quake. And again, when you do have that pressure taken away from you, like at this point, for instance, I knew that I'm not going to be a reason why my alliance loses this war, right? It's already something that has happened. So it's just a lot easier mentally to be sharp, stay focused, and to actually play. In fact, I think that there are many alliances who are very, very close on the same skill level when it comes to individual players. But what lets certain alliances consistently and constantly rank better than other ones, it's organization, number one, and number 2 is the people who have better nerves. Because most of these Alliance War fights, especially now, are not difficult. They're stressful. And you can see the way people play in hard wars when like you're late to punish after parries and things like that, because nerves do affect you a lot. And I think Alliance War is like the game mode where you can see it most often, where getting nervous often is what gets you killed. But yeah, and this last fight is Dr. Doom against Vision Arcus, and this always is a bit trippy fight. Often it is nice to use Indestructible 3 boost, but again, I wasn't worried, I was confident going in this fight. And I have done it a whole bunch of times, and it's a very quick-paced fight because Vision Arcus gains a whole bunch of power gain buffs, then I steal a whole bunch of power gain buffs, and it's kind of like a race to level 3 and who is gonna throw their level 3 first for most part. And here's my second level 3 of the fight, 44%. And I'm going in for another one. I drop my level 1. This time power is coming in a bit slower, so I'm just gonna go for level 2 to finish it off. And yeah, that is it for my contribution in this war. Actually fairly cheap. I only used like 1 potion just to heal up Quake, which I didn't even really have to do. And yeah, boosted twice, did all the war in like 2 goes. So ultimately, fairly straightforward, simple war for me, even though it was one of the more important wars. So unfortunately, we do end up losing this one. Well, the war is technically not over, but our guys at the end died a couple more times and they didn't. So it's quite obvious that we have lost this war, unfortunately. But you know, war season just started. Anything may still happen. Hopefully, ASR doesn't let this loss get us down as an alliance, and we can push on forwards. Again, it sucks waking up after you go to bed and everything is in order and you're doing perfectly fine, and just wake up to a war that's already lost. Hate it. I hate it a lot, but what you can do about it. So let me know what you guys think about this video. Hit that comment section, drop a comment. How is your alliance starting this Alliance War season? How hard are you guys pushing? Where are you planning to place and all that other good stuff? But this is it for now, and I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about